Hi guys, this is Allie with Chaos Monkey, and I just kind of wanted to do a quick review on these needles, which I got a couple months ago, but I didn't really have a chance to really mess with. And they are the AddiCrazyTrio from Addi, and there's a big difference between these and the Flexi Flips, and I'd watched a few reviews and they were kind of calling these interchangeably Crazy Trio or Flexi Flips, and so I assumed they were the same thing, and I went and bought some of these. These were off of Etsy, and they came pretty quick because they're really not available here because these are German and they're available in other countries, etc., etc. But anyway, to get to the point is that the Flexi Flips are not the same as the Crazy Trio, and I will also put a picture in to show you the Flexi Flips. They come in a different tube. They come in a long tube, and the cord in between looks different, and we'll go into that real quick. So these are size 0s, and they do come with a really cool instruction book. It has a lot of information in it. It's in German and in English, and so you can see that the English is under the German. And they do have some QR codes for the videos if you need help with using them. And then they also have really cool pictures and how to get your cast on, how to get to the heel. And they're doing a heel flap and gusset. And there were some other reviewers who were kind of concerned because apparently they were doing like a child size sock on these, and they were kind of like, how would an adult sock fit? So I think there's some other reviewers out there who actually did the whole heel and everything with a heel flap gusset. I usually don't do heel flap gussets, so it's really not an issue for me. You do need a little more room for those than you do for like a fish lips kiss or a short row heel. I usually use a short row heel, so. But you can see it gives you a lot of good information in it. The shoe sizes, how many to cast on per shoe size. Just a lot of little tips and tricks in the little booklet. So just to give you an idea what's in there. And here's what the needles look like. And then you'll see that on each end there is a different point. So technically you're kind of getting 6 needles instead of 3 needles because one has a duller point, which is this guy on this side, and one has a sharper point on that side. And so you can decide which point works better in whatever project you're in. And here's the cord difference. This is a big difference between the Crazy Trio and the Flexi Flips. As you can see in the Crazy Trio, they kind of hold their shape. See how it flips back and forth? Kind of like this. And the Flexi Flips have a clear portion here with a thinner cord that actually sit like this in the tube, and they bend any direction really easily. So it comes down to personal preference. If you want to have these that hold their shape, or the Flexi Flips, which are much more flexible. So as you can see, they hold their shape even in a project. I did these, I did this sock cuff up. I usually do toe down, but I did cuff to start the cuff. Get it out, girl, geez. And then just to test it out, because all new needles, when you try out any new needle, it's going to change your gauge. You know, I've done 9-inch circulars. They make my gauge really loose. And so, you know, I'm not planning on keeping this sock. Just kind of testing out and getting used to the needle, because your gauge will change until you get used to a new setup. And these, I don't know, I'll show you guys. Let's just knit on them and I'll show you guys. I usually like the sharper tip, so I'm gonna get the sharper tip out. And then you just kind of scoot them down. You only need the 2 needles, and then you just knit across. And this can show you guys how I knit too. I knit continental. And try to keep it in camera. It's going to slow me down a bit, but also I'm just slow because, and as you can see, I have this kind of folded up in this hand, and this needle folding down, these two needles folding down in this hand. So it's a little cumbersome. I'm used to doing magic loop too, so I'm not really used to having a lot of stuff in my hands per se, just the cable. And so this can get a little awkward, so excuse me if it kind of goes in and out of focus. I just want to get to the end of this needle. So you can see how I kind of have to just bend this one in my hand, which is nice because you can't do that with double points. Double points just stab you in the palm. Depending on what size of double points you have, 4 inches or 6 inches long, and then how big your hands are, how they end up stabbing you in the hand, or how you get them out of your way. Sorry, I'm really slow on these. So you can see I'm going to get to the end, and that's how it works. Then you have this needle free, so you only need the 3. And then each side you always pick, okay, I want the sharp end, or I want the dull end, the duller end. And so that's all you need, and you just scooch them around. It bends really nicely, so it's a really good compromise between double points and magic loop. If you don't enjoy magic loop or it's too fiddly, these would be for you. And if you're not too crazy about double points because they do stab you in the hand, and with double points you need at least 3 needles that are all, like this, or 4, depending on how you like to do it. But I ladder really badly on double points, which is part of the reason I switched to magic loop. And as you can see, on these I'm not really laddering. I have some tension issues, but I'm pretty sure that once I get used to these, oh, this side's even better, look at that, no laddering. I'm pretty sure I won't ladder on these. So I do ladder on double points no matter what I do. I've tried to pull the first stitch tighter, leave it loose, or pull the second stitch tighter and leave the first stitch loose. I've tried every technique I could find, and I still ladder. I don't ladder on magic loop, and it looks like I'm not really going to ladder too much on these. But if you guys don't know what a ladder is, it's this line, because your tension changes where the needles match, or where the needles not match, but meet. That's a lot more common in double points because the needles are not flexible, they're straight, and there's a lot more tension in between. So it all depends on how you pull that yarn when you do from, where's my string? There you go. There's my yarn. When you pull from here to here, that can change your technique, or however you do this will change that tension here in between the needles. And some people don't get ladders, and other people do, and I am one of those on double points. And I've been knitting for 10 years, and I still can't manage to get past the laddering. So these are perfect for me if I don't feel like doing magic loop, and I want to. It's a perfect hybrid between double points and magic loop. And so I really like them. Like I said, it does take some time to get used. You can see I got tension issues all over the place, here and here. Now that is mostly because if you stop with your fabric on the needle, it will stretch the fabric out. And so like these, you can't really help it. You can kind of squeeze them down to the cable, but part of your sock is always going to be a little bit on the needle. Same thing with double points. They're always on the needle. What are you going to do? And then when I'm doing magic loop, I'll usually pull everything onto the cables when I'm not knitting on it, just to prevent that from happening. But that's normal. That's a normal tension issue when you've got needles sitting there. But most of this does wash out with blocking. It's the ladders that don't come out with blocking. Or if they do, it's temporary and they end up showing whenever you stretch the fabric out, put the sock on. You'll see it again. So you really want to avoid the ladders. And like I said, this side I did much better on for some reason than this side. Interesting. Now, and you can see I did a little weird ladder thing when I was doing my ribbing too. So my tension got a little crazy there. But again, this is a practice sock. And I'm going to just keep working till I get to the heel. And since I do a short row heel, I only need half the needles. I'll be working back and forth on one side. until I finish my heel, and then I pick up and knit in the round again. So these are not an issue for me. If you do heel flap and gusset, it might be an issue. You might run out of yarn. Out of room on these. These might get really awkward. But again, they do show it to you in here, but on a child size. So I'm sure somebody's done some videos actually showing a heel flap and gusset full-size adult on these and how they made it work. But I always do the fish lips, kiss heel, or the short row because they're super easy and they fit me really, really good. So I don't do all the extra work for a heel flap gusset. So I just kind of want to show you guys. I wanted to knit enough to actually give you a decent review. I do like them, but it does require your hands getting used to a different method, and your tension will change in the beginning. Yeah, I do like them. And they're not really faster for me yet than magic loop, but again, it just takes more and more practice before you get fast. Like when I first did 9-inch circulars, I got hand cramps, I was super slow, my gauge was way off. After I did like 3 or 4 pairs on the 9-inch circulars, it got a lot better. So it's just your hands kind of figuring out a new way with a different method of knitting with different tools. So that was my review on the AddiCrazyTrio. I do like them. If you want to try a hybrid between double points and magic loop, these are good. I'm really glad they're coming out with new stuff, new creative stuff. And I've jabbered too long. It's almost 12 minutes. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put the picture in somewhere in here that shows you the actual Flexi Flips. So that's the only decision you need to make is the Flexi Flips are exactly the same. They have the 2 different needle tips, one sharper than the other. And the only difference is this cord does not hold its shape. It is very flexible and clear. And they send it to you in a tube with them like this because it is more flexible. I personally would probably have liked that because as I'm working, I could have twisted it easier in either direction to get them out of my way. These you kind of still have to kind of tilt with where it wants to go. If you want them out of your way, you kind of have to flip the whole thing up and kind of hold it like this to get those needles out of the way. I think the Flexi Flips might be a little easier in that regard. So there is a difference between the two. And just keep that in mind. I don't think price-wise there's that much of a difference. I think, oh, I take that back. The Flexi Flips might be a little more expensive, as I don't think I paid very much for these on Etsy. I think it was maybe $14, $15. And I think the Flexi Flips, from what I've heard from other people, is going for like maybe $18, $20 a set. And so, yeah, if you're already a sock knitter and you want to try something new, you know, get it in your regular size and just adjust to it, see how it works for you. I always like trying new stuff. So like I said, these will probably work for me. Anytime I'm going to do one at a time socks, which I do occasionally, I'll probably use these. Alright guys, thank you. Bye.